All right, Chad the Dad Chop. What'd you get for Christmas here today?
Coach ball game.
What's your favorite thing you got for Christmas? I hear it was a hole in one.
Man, I had a hole in one. I did have a hole in one. Par 3, 152 yards out. Took out my trusty 9-iron. And shout out to PXG. That's a PXG club that I'm swinging. Now,
oh, snap.
Well, I say you or maybe the listeners here, our listeners, they might say, PXG, man, that's pretty highbrow. I can't afford PXGs, but what I can do is talk golf with David Price. And David Price can say, hey, I get PXGs. They give them to me, and I've got 2 or 3 sets. Let me give you a set. So those are from David Price, those clubs. And the price was right. The price was right on that shot.
Yeah, and he loves hooking you up with a hole-in-one ball. Give me the yardage, give me the club, because I've played golf my entire life. I've never had one.
First one for me, and I'll send you the video after the pod here. But yeah, I hit the 9-iron, and it landed about 1.5 feet, maybe 2 feet short of the pin. Rolled up just past the pin, 152 yards, and then rolled back in, back right edge. Oh man, I could hear Jim Nance.
Yeah,
calling it in my head.
You zipped it back a little bit, little hop zip.
It was pure luck. I mean, my buddies were watching, and my whole thing was like, "Hey, don't embarrass yourself." And then I swung. Like that was my swing thought, and I don't think that's sustainable.
Hello, friends. Hello, friends. Here we are today on a quiet, beautiful day in Arizona. As Chad the Dad Chop steps in with a 9-iron from 152 yards, and the upside down parabola of the PXG is delicately landing on the short surface. It's zipping back. Oh, baby. Oh. It's a hole in one.
Yes.
See, that's the ticket. Jim sometimes goes loud Nance. So yes, it's rare. Always here, very quiet, but he will go loud Nance when you're leading into a commercial, and definitely in football and basketball. So, man, way to go. My great uncle, Uncle Ted, the only guy I've ever met, he's got 2 hole-in-ones.
What?
One righty, one lefty.
That is something. That's something.
One righty, one lefty, which leads me to a quick trivia question. Who owns the record for most games with a bomb righty and lefty?
Eddie Murray.
Good guess. Incorrect.
Thanks. Thank you. He had 500 homers. I like that guess. Let's go with hard-hitting Mark Whitten.
Great guess. Boy, I love watching him run like a deer. You've got a teammate of Mark Teixeira. Mark Teixeira is right there, but somebody surpassed him.
Chipper Jones?
Nick Swisher.
Swish. Great smile.
Swish.
Hey,
big smile.
Great smile.
Gregarious guy.
I love Nick Swisher.
I did a little trivia with him, Instagram Live during the pandemic when everybody was just hunkered down. Yeah. And boy, what a joyful dude. And I did all Nick Swisher. I did all. I'll give him a buzz. He'd be great. I did all Nick Swisher trivia, and man, we lit up a whole hour of it. It was great.
I love Nick Swisher.
Well, you got a hole in one. That's going to drive me to do that for Christmas. I wanted to know what you got. I'll show you a few things. This is from some kids at my Sandlot. It's a coffee mug that says "Atta Boy." You might also notice a little something different about my face. I'm going to give you a guess. What's different? What did I get for Christmas that just really pops right now?
Man, gosh, your beard's darker.
Beard balm.
I know that. Beard balm.
Yeah, boy, does it smell good. Oh my goodness. Have you ever thrown a little balm in there?
No. But is it like my dad's, the aftershave he'd throw on, or is it more like a fresh scent? What's the old aftershave that all of our dads had?
Oh yeah. I don't know what it's called, but it smells like that. It smells like my dad.
Yes.
It's just a white kind of paste that you just rub into your hands, you put here. And when your beard smells good, it throws a whole new lens on you. You're looking through a different pair of shades, man. Yeah. I got joy coming out of my ears, brother.
That's the difference between a good day and a great day right there, bud.
I
don't
also
know.
I also got a robe. My wife got me a brand new soft.
Come on, plush.
What's a very plush? What's the mixture of purple and red and a little bit of pink? What's that color?
Is it mauve? Could it be
That's
mauve?
what I got. It's got to be
Love
mauve.
that.
It feels
Love
like
that.
mauve. Yeah, it's so good. So
That's awesome.
I've been rolling with that, to the Target and Starbucks, and I
have to.
You just have to for a whole week. I got a couple books, Johnny Carson book. Been asking for the Johnny Carson biography Ed McMahon wrote, and the Bill Murray book.
Bill Murray
touched on. So I'm just sitting in a robe, smelling like Beard Balm, reading books.
You're living your best life.
Do you and your wife, do you exchange gifts? Tell me about your deal there.
Well, how long have you been married, Coach Ballgame? 10 years?
Well, we met
12?
10 years. We met about 10 years ago, but we got married 4/20/13.
Okay. Almost 9 years.
Ish. That's right.
Yeah. So Mrs. Chad, the dad, and myself, we've been married for close to 20 years. In fact, I'm currently planning our 19-year anniversary. So for a good 12 to 15 years, I think we got each other, gifts and this, that, and the other. And lately it's been more like, honey, we're good. And we have got 4 babies, right? So it's like, hey, we got to dial in the babies and this, that, and the other. And
is that a bad idea? Right, just right off the gate, I got that question for you. Should you go all in on the kids and forget each other? Is that a good idea? Bad idea?
God, that's a tough one to answer. I feel like a lot of folks would be adamant that you should never stop getting gifts. I just think life's gotten pretty crazy and hectic, and Deb will come home and say, hey, I picked up this. Don't get me anything. That'll be my Christmas present. Or I ordered 10 dozen Vice golf balls, and holy cow, that was a quick, like, hey, honey, I found a good deal on Vice golf balls.
Boom.
That's my Christmas present.
Well, my knee-jerk reaction is to definitely say, well, you got to keep dating your wife,
Yeah,
right?
yes.
You got to keep doing. And if you're when you're dating somebody, they are seeing the best version of you, no doubt about it.
Beard balm, robe, always.
You're not letting out any toots.
That's right.
You're not burping. You're really dressing nice, and you're getting the best gifts. So if we're abiding by that, then you gotta keep going with it. But every time I buy my wife something, she loves it, but she always returns it because it's not quite there. But at least I really do effort. I try
effort.
For effort. So I got her some UCLA swag. She's been wanting a little bit of that. Little Carrie Underwood line sweater, a little sweater there, soft, very good. And speaking of kids, kind of sounds like your kids are yelling at you right now.
Can you hear that?
It sounds like they're screaming "Daddy." I mean, their ears are ringing, man.
No,
they want
real.
more Christmas presents.
Well, no. This is a present for Dad. Right now, he's asking me to wipe his butt. Actually, that's my 4-year-old. That's a present for me. So I'm gonna be back in 30 seconds. How about that? We'll take a 30-second TV timeout.
I'll just recite the Declaration of Independence.
Please do. I'll be right back.
When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them. A decent respect for the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. And among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. Now, that's all I can remember from my 4th grade recital, but thank goodness he jogged right back from wiping the little man's bahonkus, and he's back.
He was dancing on a toilet in there.
That was the perfect timing. I know about 3 good paragraphs of the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah, and that's the sign of a good podcast, because we're not even this is going to air. Most folks, they would pause that and we would edit that out. That's the good stuff right there.
That's just good teamwork. We knew we knew that the time it would take you to run to the bathroom, wipe your son's bahonkus, come back would
Wash
be
my
the
hands.
exact time. Yeah, you washed your hands too. Would be the exact time it took me to recite the Declaration of Independence. Attaboy to you. Attaboy to you. So hard to segue from that.
It's a tough one to follow.
That speaks to fatherhood, man. And it's a question I have for our guest today. Who in the world do we have on today, Chad Chopper?
Oh my gosh. One of the best relief pitchers in all of baseball. This guy gives opposing hitters nightmares. I don't know a single hitter, not one, who wants to see him with a baseball 60 feet, 6 inches away. Mr. Blake Treinen. Blue-eyed, handsome fella.
Boy, and when you see him in person, and name drop salute, I did, and I met him and I shook his hand. Those eyeballs, and he's super tall. Everything about him just makes you want to be a better father and be a better man. And yeah, it's pretty staggering to watch him throw a ball, like the way it moves, how fast it goes. But I can't wait to unpack his story, and I know he'll probably be self-deprecating when we talk about it a little bit. But when I did some research, and folks, Blake Treinen, setup man for the Dodgers, the nasty man coming out of the bullpen, he didn't have a gold path to a World Series ring. Like, it was tough, right?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. One of the questions I'm going to ask him is about the adversity that he's gone through in his life and how many doors got shut, but he never lost his faith in what the good Lord gave him as far as the ability that he gave him. And man, I'm really excited for this one because everyone just assumes, oh, he's probably, thrown 100 since, he turned 2 years old, but totally different story here about a kid who changed his life and stayed positive and worked and was picked on and this, that, and the other. But man, he's a stud and he's mentally tough, and his role with the Dodgers is more important than the closer because he's going to pick up wherever that middle of the lineup comes in, whenever that later in the game, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th inning, occasionally in the 9th. If it's their toughest hitters, they're going with Blake Treinen, and as they should. He's nasty. He's throwing a wiffle ball 100 miles an hour out there.
Yeah, it's unreal. And you can tell Dave Roberts, he leaned on him big time, man, and all the high leverage situations. And didn't you drive him to work every day? You pulled a Brandon Belt?
Well, it's one of those things where even the best pitchers in the game have to get to and from the field. So that's where support staff steps in, and they support Staffley. And I just got him to and from the field. Now, here's the funny thing. Brandon Belt argued that's why folks come on this podcast. Blake Treinen will give you a totally different story. He did not like the antics that I pulled. He's a law and order every time type of guy. He's a follow the rules commendable. And so he did not appreciate the occasional, yellow light, orange light that I went through, or if I had to use the shoulder. Traffic's pretty bad in LA. So sometimes you got to get a little creative. I had to remind him I used to drive a fire truck occasionally, and sometimes you have to go opposing traffic when it's an emergency.
It's something I noticed when Mrs. Chad, the dad, drove me and Mrs. Ballgame from Tustin up to Dodger Stadium. Who wins in a race between you two? Because she knows how to go left and right, and she knows how to go fast.
Well, she learned that from me. You've been married as long as we have. Things rub off. Like, I'm a better person, and I'm nicer and kinder and have more empathy and sympathy for others. I got that from her, and she's gotten a little bit better at driving. But to answer your question, short answer, I win that every time.
No, not even a tie. No Rochambeau needed. That's a game.
She would tell you
game
that.
Set match. Wow. Wow. Good deal.
Yeah, it's going to be fun today. It's going to be fun. It always is, but today's going to be a good one because of everything that you touched on. And I was looking up his stats, and just for fun, I was comparing. In 2018, he got MVP votes in 2018. I don't know if you know that. Not a lot of people know that. You know that because you're a connoisseur. But man, his stats, I have them here written down on my board here. They're very eerily similar in 2021 to 2018. He had a .78 ERA in 2018, 1.99 this last year, 80 innings versus 72, a .83 WHIP in 2018, a .98 WHIP this year. And for those of us that don't know what that is, that's walks and hits over innings pitched. So that's allowing less than one base runner an inning, which is really unheard of in today's game. 11.2 Ks per nine in 2018 versus 10.6 in 2021. And here's a real kicker: 46 hits allowed in 2018, 46 hits allowed in 2021. That's pretty cool.
Come on.
I know.
Oh yeah, he's
pretty
just
cool.
He's lights out, shut down, and the ups and downs he had getting to the bigs, and the ups and downs he had once he got to the bigs.
Yeah.
I mean, it just never stops. I that's what I'm excited to unpack with him. Is just these lessons he's learned, and why stick with it, why hang in there, and what got you through it. So
yeah, he's going to talk about his faith. He and I have talked about this quite a bit. And he's going to talk about his faith and just a, conviction, and an undying belief in the skills that the good Lord gave him. And he never wavered on that. And he trusted that. He's like, God, if you gave me this ability to do this, you had to have given it to me for a reason. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty powerful message and story. And it's about resilience. It's about mental toughness. It's about responding. Really, really cool. And these 46 hits that he allowed, let me touch on the baseball aspect one more time. These are soft hits. You know what I mean? These are like trying to pull the ball and you hit it off the end of the bat through the 4-hole, which is the right side of the field when you're trying to hit it to the left side of he's not giving up solid contact. He might have honestly, maybe 10 of the 46 hits, and it's probably less than that, were hit hard. That's how nasty he is. He's amazing. Yeah. He's amazing.
It's a wiffle ball. It's a wiffle ball up there.
He's as good at pitching as I am at driving.
That's good. That's good. I love that. Yes. Well, I definitely can't wait to talk to him about his character. I've got a buddy and their son just loves Blake Treinen. They love watching him when he comes in the game. They love watching him jog in from the bullpen. And he has this little routine on the mound before he pitches, right? What's his little routine?
He's putting a cross in the dirt and he's saying a quick prayer. And then you'll see when he's walking off the mound, he just says, "Thank you, Father." And it's real. Like I said, I spent a lot of time with Blake, and it's a true reliance and a true dependence on Jesus. And it's pretty cool. It's really powerful. And his reason for doing that is he doesn't want people to think that it's him, and that's what's really cool is like, and that's why he's so adamant when people talk about, using spider tack or this, that. He's like, I don't use any of this. This is from my God. This is not from man or from a substance. It's cool. It's really cool. And when people have that kind of conviction and faith, it's really cool and it's fun and it's powerful. So I love that your buddy's boy loves it because it's a good message. And, his God's a powerful God. It's pretty cool.
Unreal. It is. Yeah. And I mean, it reminds me of a guy named Albert Pujols, who was his teammate. Anytime you ask him any questions, he goes right to his faith and right to, what matters to him. And that is his faith. And I even heard Albert will ask runners when they get on first base, "Hey, what kind of choices you making these days? How's your character?" Right? He'll challenge you in that way. So those Dodgers with Dave Roberts, they kind of reminds me of the St. Louis Cardinals back in 2011. There was a high standard of character on that team, and you kind of see that with some of these teams that come through and these stories, like the fact that he developed pre-diabetes his sophomore year of high school. Blake Treinen did. Went to a few different colleges, got punched in the mouth a few times, and he stuck with it. Like, man, super cool really and inspiring. Looking forward to it.
Albert Pujols for a week, Blake had something going on with his truck. And so we needed a car for a week. And I can't remember why. Maybe I had something going on with my car as well, my sporty minivan hybrid. 2021 Toyota Sienna. So Albert's like, "Hey guys, like, it's not a big deal. I have cars. So just come down and pick out a car." Okay. So he went down there and Blake picked out obviously a cherry red 2021 Spider Corvette. Wow. So we were rolling in AP's Corvette for a week.
Blake
didn't let me drive that. He didn't let me drive that. And that's
that's fair. Totally I get
fine.
that.
I get that too.
I love these behind the curtain stories you got of Brandon Crawford and the music he likes and all these great dudes. Before the big man comes on board, I wanted to give a shout out to a special lady we call Mrs. Ballgame, because Tara Jean has been working really hard on all things Coach Ballgame. I think you probably relate with Mrs. Chad the dad, but my wife built the website from scratch. Like, she figured out how to go to Squarespace and build a website and line up registration and delegate jobs to, people that we needed. And she's been working hard on our merch, man. And she dialed in an online store. We made it live last night, and we just high-fived and hugged, and we're like, you know what, man, this is like, we just started a family business. And the brand is clear for Coach Ballgame. It's positivity. It's saying attaboy in the face of negativity, and atta girl. When somebody wants to be mean, no, let's throw positivity and kindness their way. And she dialed it in with t-shirts and hoodies. So just got to give her a big atta girl. It's amazing.
Great job. I was on the website last night, and I had the hoodie in my cart, and I was trying to get the matching hat, the trucker hat, and all I saw was a youth size. So you said
we're
that's
going to
coming.
dial that in. It's coming. Wait. Yeah, we'll get the logo hat, adult size. You'll have the hoodie, and
can't wait.
You've got a good size brain on you there. So
I got
we'll
a
make
dome.
sure
I got
fits.
a dome. 7 3/4. Yeah. No joke. Yeah.
Strong.
Sounds like Blake's Blake. Oh,
yeah.
Let me do a quick introduction.
Why am I not popping up here for you guys? I'm just gonna watch you.
Let me do a quick introduction here, real quick. Coffees for closers. Blake Treinen. He's arguably the best relief pitcher in the game, and he's an even better human. And we're really, really excited to have you on here, Blake. Welcome to the show.
Well, it takes one to know one, Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks, buddy. I'm gonna kick you off to Coach Ballgame. He's gonna ask you a question.
Brother, right. Good to see you.
Hey, it's been a while, huh? Since we were on the field in LA.
I know, man. I can't tell you how good it made me feel when you came right up to me, shook my hand, looked me square in the eye, and said, "Hey, Coach Ballgame."
Yeah.
And I was, oh man, that just made me feel good, and speaks to your character. After a big win, I went to the Cardinals-Dodgers wild card game. That was just wild and so much fun. I guess we'll start with how you guys know each other. Coach Chad Chop, for the listener there in Sioux City, Iowa. How'd we get Blake Treinen on, man?
Well, Blake, he needed a really good driver. So similar to like a driving Miss Daisy situation.
Yeah, it started before. I mean, go back to 2020.
Yeah, he was with the Dodgers, and we're both like-minded individuals, both really handsome. He's got the blue eyes, I got the hazel, and so yeah, the personality, and then we got to drive in this year, all year long. And I was telling Coach Ballgame how much you enjoyed my driving. We had Brandon Belt on, and he talked about how elite it was. So I wanted to touch on your opinion of it, because I know it's slightly different than Belt's.
I'll tell you what, I'm here today speaking about it, so I can't speak anything ill about it, but there was one accident that didn't involve him behind the wheel. That's all I'm going to say. There's only one accident. It happened in the parking lot. He had nothing to do with it.
That's true. It was a hit and run. So I parked the car.
Brand new rig.
2021 Toyota Sienna hybrid.
Got bumped into. Yeah.
Wait, I need more here. I need more there. What happened?
He parked. We got a little bit quick to parking. I think it was maybe one of the days where I said, "Hey, we got to park in the players' lot." And you're like, "No, I'm parking coach's side because it's easier access to my locker room."
Convenience.
That's fair. Totally fair. And he was like, "Who the heck hit somebody in the parking lot?" And I'm like, "That's totally fair, dude." I'm looking around like, "How did somebody back into you?" And then we look, and maybe your car was an extra 1.5 feet, 2 feet outside of the lane.
At least.
Like, you didn't back all the way into the parking spot.
Didn't have time. Parking lot was empty when we parked.
We thought, hey, this is perfect. No one's here. Of course, people are going to not hit your car. Apparently, you can't park in the middle of an aisle. So
You're gonna park in the middle of an aisle when there's 55,000 fans. Who knew?
Well, the amount of good driver stories with Chad the dad, man.
yeah, back to his active driving, it's pretty special. Couple moments I got a little scared, puckered up a little bit, but we always made it through. So
Hey,
yeah, he's like, hey, with Chad, don't just close your eyes and believe we'll be there. All right, and we got there every time.
Every time with the most efficient route possible.
And
I would like to call it safe, but it was not always safe.
It was safe. We got there. You know.
You're right.
Outstanding. Well, man, it's Blake Treinen, everybody. It's been good to do a little homework on you and see your story. For those that don't know, he's got quite the story. And born in Wichita, Kansas. There's a lot to unpack, and we'll get through it all because I think it's super inspiring. I coach kids, so does Chad. They're all big fans of you. They love watching you play the game. You're a man of high character, and there's definitely been some punches in the mouth that got you there. But I just want to start with a nickname question. It's the question I ask every kid I ever coach. What is your nickname, brother? And how'd you get that?
Man, I really have. There's so many, like, just kind of roll off the tip of your tongue. Some people call me just Train. Some people call me Balake, thanks to the Key and Peele skits. That was my nickname on my jersey because honestly, I've never been dubbed a nickname before. And then in 18, the pitching ninja gave me one that I just really don't care for, but I understand why. I mean, he called me the witch. So I said, I stand for Christ. I can't really have that behind me. And he's like, oh, dude, no offense. I'm sorry. So he's been super cool. And he's kind of like, every time somebody puts that up on the internet, he's like, hey, he doesn't like it. He's like my big brother now on the internet. So, yeah, I think Balake's probably, or Train. Those are probably my two nicknames.
I like it, man. Well, when the train comes in from the bullpen, me as a Cubs fan, I just do a little bit of dry heaving in my mouth and just say, well, let's chalk this one up because it's just nasty.
Other than this year, the Cubs have done pretty well against me, especially Javi Baez. So, yeah, he's done pretty well against me, and it's usually in a big spot. I cringe when I've got Wrigley in the past.
That's interesting. I wear this big Chicago Cubs onesie and a fake beard and a big wig. I call myself Old Man Wrigley, and I've been to Dodger Stadium 9 times in that outfit, and the Cubs are 0-9. So, hey, Chad the dad called me up, said you got to come to the wild card game because we need a W. And
that's right, because you were at the Cubs game, weren't you, when we won? And Chad's like, hey, I want to know, we got to have him back. He's big on the superstitions. Yeah,
huge.
And Albert sees me, and I've become friends with Albert, through his foundation, great foundation for kids with Down syndrome. I've coached some sandlots with kids with Down syndrome, and he sees me, and I'm right behind the first base dugout. So he always throws the last warm up to Justin Turner, and then he gets the ball, and for 5 straight innings, he just tosses it over the net. One lands right in front of me, one behind me, one here. I never caught one. And after the 9th inning, he looks at me after a toss that really was right in my wheelhouse, and I just missed it. And he's like, come on, man, what's going on here?
But, 0 for 5, that's not going to cut it.
No, I got to bring a glove. But anyhow, Chopper, go for it.
Question I like asking all of our guests is, what do you like most about baseball? I think I know the answer. But I'm still going to ask it. I want our listeners to know the answer.
Oh, now there's pressure because I was up in the air between 2 things. So I'll just kind of give you both. I love honoring God with my ability. Like, that's the coolest part. Because I'm literally, most people know me as like this short, fat kid from Osage City, Kansas, who got along with most people, but some people didn't really treat me fair. And like, how do you come up to the big leagues? And I'm very unathletic probably too. I mean, it's 5'6", 240 with a size 15 shoe. So it's like, they're like, who is this kid? He's, Dopey the clown running around the halls. And, but God used me for a bigger purpose. So I love doing that. I also love the competition. So I want to continue to play as long as I can because I love competing with all the chaos that's going on around us. And I still find joy when I'm on the mound. using the ability God gave me. So competing is probably the biggest, because I think it goes hand in hand with like honoring God. So
that was what knowing you and how competitive you are, and just that, because you're a sweetheart, but then when it's time to go, you turn it on to honor God. But I know how competitive you are, and that's really, Coach Ballgame, as we have guests on here, that's kind of that underlying theme is compete, right? Competing, see, like measuring up. But I like what you said first, which is you're honoring the Lord too, and that's just a powerful example for kids watching you. Coach Ballgame.
Well, I want to go back to that, as you put it, that fat kid that 240 pounds.
little
And
chunky monkey.
I when I heard that, and when I read about you developing pre-diabetes your sophomore year of high school, I was like, no, that's got to be a different guy. And the fact that you could overcome that and claw your way back to playing high school baseball. Can you take me back to that fat little kid and what happened to get you to Baker University and then moving forward?
You kind of want me to start from, this could be like a 2-part series, honestly. This could be
I'm
like
game. This is for that kid in Wichita, man.
Anywhere. I've had a few kids reach out, some of my family that are extended that I'm married into, and then even along the way that have hit me up on social media platforms. Just, it's crazy that you went through what you went through, and I think like no kid should ever have to go through bullying, kind of like foreshadowing here, but it does like require the ability to push away people's opinions and focus on what God says of you and who you are, and all of that kind of allows you to, and I learned this through the big leagues too. So it wasn't like just in high school I flipped the switch and things started clicking. It was a long drawn out process that, hey, I look back a month from now and I'm like, man, I don't really see much growth, but 5 years back I could see a ton of growth of what I've seen in my life and where I've gotten to. And it's, when you focus on what God says of you, the fear of failure doesn't really matter anymore, because you're only, what's the saying, audience of one, like it's kind of sounds cliche after a while, but it's very true. When you focus on that, you can't be let down by other people's opinions of you. So, but Fat Blake started, I was never really overweight until, probably, I think honestly, my freshman year of high school is when I started putting weight on. And I just, my parents didn't cook bad for me. I'm from, the sticks country, I guess, and gravy and biscuits and steak and all this stuff. It's just kind of, common for anybody over there. It's not like in California where berries and fruit are part of every meal, and you have portion control. You just eat what's on the plate. And my grandpa had a saying, and it was probably too off color for this network, so it's either got to go down one way and you figure out the rest, but you whatever's on your plate you eat. Don't let your eyes get bigger than your stomach. So I just grew up with, if the food was cooked, you eat it. And my parents never kept anything bad around me. And then video games started becoming big, like in all my friends' life back in like 2000 or 1998, maybe. And so we all started playing, PlayStation 1 and going over to each other's houses after school. And I went from being outside playing football and basketball and baseball, like throughout the summer and during the school year, to going to my friends' house and playing video games. And I became very inactive. And it's probably why I still don't really get into video games today. I feel like some people can handle it. I just can't. I feel like there's so much more to interact with people than there is to just sit behind a screen and live in a fantasy world. But that's not a knock against video games. I think there's a place for it. And I think it's a really cool, creation. For me, I can't get into it. And so, but I got into video games, and then, they would have Doritos or, like, think of any type of like snacks that you can think of that taste good but aren't good for you. And as a kid, you have no idea the negative outcomes of eating all that stuff. And then pop and sitting around and not doing sports. And then, you take a summer going into my high school of doing that. And then my freshman year, my whole like development as a man hadn't happened yet. as for a lot of kids, some start early and some don't, and I was more late. And so add that with bad eating habits, I started just getting big, and I went out for baseball, but no other sports. And I just kind of got big because throughout that whole year, I wasn't active until baseball season. And in baseball, there was a bad mindset of like, you can't do this lift, you can't do that lift because you're a pitcher, you don't want to get tight. And so I think a combination of just not knowing and what we know today in baseball, and not having just kind of like the scale of importance of baseball like a lot of schools do now, like it's just kind of like fed into this, I guess, negative version of me, which became me being 5'6", 240, borderline type 2 diabetic, stunted bone growth. When I was 13 years old, was it 13 or no, I was 15. I had the bone growth of a 13-year-old, and I was borderline type 2 diabetic. I hadn't hit puberty yet. And so I went and saw a doctor. But when I went and saw the doctor, it was mainly because my development hadn't happened. And they were thinking about like, what are some things we can do to kind of like boost me into that, because it's pretty late at this point. And he saw my knuckles on my hand, and he's like, hey, those look kind of dark. I want to do a blood sugar test on you. And that's when they found out that I was borderline type 2 diabetic. And I don't really know much. I think I remember a number saying something like my sugar levels were like north of 200, which isn't good. I don't really know what the scale is or anything, but I do remember like a number of like 200. And so they're like, any carbs, any sugar, any fruit, like you just have to cut it. Like, and I'm like, man, like what can I eat? So I remember just literally trying to focus on not eating any sugar like all week. And then that turned into a second week and a third week. And then I started running because they told me like, if you don't get your weight under control and your sugar under control, you're going to be a full-blown diabetic and you'll have a shot in your stomach every day the rest of your life. And I'm thinking, my great grandfather at the time was doing that. My mom was performing the hospice at his house, and she said, it's not a fun thing. So she had me come out and watch my grandpa have it done. And I'm like, I don't think this is what I want. And so I started running. And for me, that was really hard. But we have like a downtown strip in Osage City where I grew up. And I think down and back was roughly a mile or just over. And so I would go downtown, park my 88 Dodge Dakota Sport that my great grandfather gave me. And I'd run up and down the main drag just one time, and I'd be sweating bullets and gassed. And then it turned into like 2 strips after about a month, and then 3 trips down and back. And how fast can I do it? And I remember, like, I'm not that much of a Lil Wayne fan now, but there were some Lil Wayne songs that definitely set the pace for me. And I just remember getting to the point where people at my high school came up to me and said, hey, you should go out for cross country. I said, I don't enjoy running that much. I do want to get my health under control, but I don't enjoy running that much. And so I got my weight down. I remember my sophomore years when I started doing the running. And then I went to California, to San Diego, for a month with my cousins. And they started getting me onto portion control, and we hiked every day, and we went to the beach, and like we were just active every single day. And I went from 240 down to 200 pounds within the gap of about a summer and like the last month of school. So when I came back, I was probably about 5'10", 195. And like the biggest compliment I got is people didn't recognize me. And I started feeling more self-confidence. And, when I grew, I remember being in dodgeball, because I didn't play baseball my sophomore year. I just played golf because I wasn't, after my freshman year, I was throwing the ball so slow compared to everybody else. It wasn't fun. I was the only freshman. I didn't have any friends out on the team, so it wasn't something I really wanted to do. So I went and played golf. And then I remember we were playing dodgeball my junior year before baseball. I was like, hey, I kind of can throw a ball a lot harder and easier now that I've got the weight and I've grown. I kind of want to play baseball again. And my dad was happy. He never once pushed me. He's like, I just hate to see you give away something you love because of something that's, that you're letting other people build up on you with being bullied and stuff. And but I was like, I'll just play golf. And my junior year, I went out for baseball, and it went well in my regards, and then my senior year, I lost a little bit more weight. I was down to about, 180, and then I shot to like 6 foot. But I didn't really have any opportunities to play baseball at the college level. And my mom, she she worked with a lady whose husband was a pitching coach at Baker University. And so I went and did some pitching lessons with him, and he was kind of teaching me how to throw a ball with better leverage and stuff. And I didn't really make a lot of gains, more of like an approach aspect of how important it is to pay attention to each throw and start to fill your body out, because I was growing a lot, and I still had a lot of growing to do. But he brought me over to Baker University and offered me a $2,500 scholarship. Thing is, the school's like 25 grand a year to go to, so it doesn't really put a dent in it. And we didn't qualify for grants because we were kind of like at that base middle class threshold where your parents make too much, but really not enough to afford for school. And so I went to Baker, and I didn't have anything that interested me academically other than I loved art. So I started to major in art, but I knew it wouldn't be something long-term for the kind of money I was putting into it. And my first year there, it was eye-opening, like a lot of mental. I think the thing I take away most through my process is just like the mental side of having to push yourself and bury yourself, and having to, like, for me, because I never really had the ability early, and I had to show people I was willing to outwork the next person, because it's always good to have at least that one guy who will push the rest of your players. And I don't know if I was that guy, because they had a guy at Baker who was really like above and beyond effort level. But I tried to hang up with him. And I remember the hardest running I did there, Baker, because I was on the JV team, and I wanted to try to get on varsity, but I threw 6 innings on the JV team. And then one weekday we were playing University of Kansas, which was just down the street. So it was more of like a charity event for them, and we were getting paid to let them bully up on us. And I was like, I want to go to this game, and watch. He's like, you just threw a bullpen. You have to get your running in before you come. And I'm like, it was only me that was running. So I had to do this 20-20-20. I don't know if you've ever heard about this. It's going to sound almost impossible, I think. But it's a 20-minute run, 20 pulls, and 20 60s. I was like, okay, I'll do it. So one thing God's put in my spirit is like a perfectionist, and who are you when no one's looking? So I made sure I did all of it, and I was like, this sucks so bad. And I got to the point where I just kind of did down and backs for my last 10 60s because I just wanted to get done and get to Lawrence. But yeah, I never threw in a varsity game there. The running aspect there and the head coach, Phil Hannon, was great to me. Pushed me and told me how much he believed in me and my future. And but my future, I just felt my heart wasn't at Baker University. And while I was there, there was a junior transfer from Missouri State who played a year at Arkansas. And I was like, hey, I'm thinking about transferring to Arkansas just for school, and I want to try to walk on. Can you help me in any way? Just kind of get to a point where I can at least see if I can walk on. And he's like, yeah. So he would have me over to his house, and I would go in the garage, and I was doing towel drills and working on trying to leverage my lower half. And honestly, I think it was just more of me going over there, trying to prove to myself that I can put the work in. He helped me out a lot with like challenging my belief in myself. But I was just out there slapping a towel on a bench for like 30 minutes to an hour, 3 or 4 days a week, trying to find a way to repeat a delivery. And but he claimed to have known Van Horn, which he probably did since he played there. And when I went to Arkansas, I got a part-time job at a hat packing plant, and was using that money to help. Yeah. So when you go to Walmart and you see those like 47 hats, and like they're kind of cheap, but they have your favorite team, you can get them for $12. That was me. And once a week you go into the extra hats and take whatever you want. So that's what I did for a full summer before I went to the University of Arkansas. And but I used that money, and my uncle actually helped me get these lessons from, I can't even think of the guy because there's so many Abbotts out there, but he played for University of Arkansas and then was drafted, but he's the head coach at Bentonville High School. And he kind of helped me a little bit, some small lessons on the side. And I went into the Arkansas office and, asked if, when can I do a walk-on tryout? And the lady at the reception said, yeah, come back on, I want to say it was like August 20 something. And we'll schedule a walk-on tryout. I was like, all right, sounds good. So I come back on August 20 something, and I was like, hey, I'm here to schedule my walk-on tryout. And, I don't know a lot about, I was so naive to big time sports, like very naive, into the fact that sometimes they'll say they do walk-ons or they don't in general, because it's just such a big time program. They don't ever have to really blink twice. People just show up and say they're coming here and they're like, cool, we got the talent we need. But I walked in and I was going to try to walk on, and my buddy that went there said, hey, just show them you're willing to work hard, and maybe you can stick around on like a practice squad for the first year and they take a chance and things develop. Who knows? I was like, okay, cool. So in my mind, that's really what I was trying to do, because I knew I wasn't good enough at the time. But I felt like God had still had it in my heart to play baseball. And so this, I think a grad assistant, he's a shorter guy, dark hair. I mean, it really don't matter because I don't think there was any malintent involved, but I walked in and I said, hey, I'm here to see you guys about like a walk-on tryout. And he's like, hey, he's kind of chuckling at me. He's like, you got to understand, like, this is the University of Arkansas. Like, if we did walk-on tryouts, every single person in Arkansas that loved baseball would be lined up at our doors for 3 weeks straight trying to do a walk-on. We don't have time for that. He goes, so it's probably best that you leave. And I'm sorry, but you got to go. I was like, well, is Coach Van Horn here? Because, I know this Jared guy who played here for, a year, and he mentioned his name, and I'd like to talk to him. And he goes, oh, he's gone recruiting in Tennessee. He won't be back till next week. And I was like, okay. So I stood up and I was like, okay, maybe they'll just see that I'm like, 6'2", 6'3", and they'll be like, okay, cool. He's got a frame. Let's go see a bullpen. No, nothing. He's like, all right, buddy, it's time for you to go. And then this guy walks in and goes back to the end of the hallway and the door on the left, and he shuts the door and it says Coach Van Horn on the door. And I'm like, I know that's Dave Van Horn. I'm not stupid. He's kind of like a big time figure in college baseball. Even me, not knowing a lot about college sports, like I knew about Dave Van Horn because I'm from Kansas and he coached at Nebraska for a while, right? And I was like, dude, you just lied to me. Like, I know that's Van Horn. He's like, right, it's time to go, man. You need to walk out. And so I walked out and I was pretty crushed. And like, I'm not too proud to say I cried. Like, I went to my car and I'm like, this sucks. Like, I feel like you kind of brought me here, God, for a reason. And, like baseball's probably done. And we're all told at some point baseball's over with for us. And I thought that was the moment. And well, one of the first moments anyways. And I remember sitting in my, ready for this, my 99 Dodge Stratus.
Yes. I drive a Dodge Stratus.
I drive a Dodge Stratus. Yep. So I was sitting in my charcoal. I couldn't tell if it was charcoal or like a hint of purple Dodge Stratus. And I remember just having a moment. I was like, you know what? Forget this. I'm going to go get in the weight room. I'm going to get as big as I can and then try out again next year. And if nothing happens, then I'm done. And I'll just move on with my career because I've got a great academic focus here. And God will show me where he wants me. So I remember just hitting the gym, not really knowing what I was doing, but then I'd go play pickup basketball. And those are some stories for another time. But I actually got pretty decent at basketball, and that was fun for me to actually become more athletic and more explosive, which is funny. Just being on a basketball court makes you so much more explosive, and you don't realize how crappy in shape you are until you pick up a basketball and run down the court. So I did that, and then didn't even think about baseball at that point. I was just having fun, like staying active and focusing on my academic endeavors, and made a lot of good friends. And then out of nowhere, I just felt like God was saying baseball. I'm like, I feel like I turned the page now. Like, why are you saying baseball? And it's not like I heard his voice audibly. It's just, I get this nudge in my spirit, just saying baseball, baseball. And I told my buddies. And so I started picking up a baseball, and we were throwing outside in like 40. I just said, hey, you want to go play catch? They're like, dude, it's 45 and it's like foggy out. Why do you want to go do that? I'm like, I don't know. I just want to play catch. You in? They're like, yeah, sure. Fine. Whatever. So we go play catch for, a couple of weeks leading into Christmas break. And I go back to my hometown, and they have like a pitching clinic coming in, and I'm like, should I really do this and see if I can get into like a summer league? Because the guy coming in played at KU and was an All-American closer for the Jayhawks, and then got drafted in the 7th round by the Marlins. His name was Don Chez, and I give him a lot of credit to where I'm at today. But he was put on a clinic for like $20. I was like, I'll pay $20, go throw in front of him and see what he says. And maybe he can get me into like a summer league, and that can push me into somewhere else. Cause I'm not leaving South Dakota. I'm not leaving Arkansas unless it's a Division I or I have a legitimate opportunity to go beyond college, because I was doing extremely well in my landscape architecture department at Arkansas, and I really enjoyed it. So I wanted to make sure I wasn't setting myself back 5 years. Like, you know, the realisticness of myself killing those dreams that God puts out there in your heart. You know, like there's got to be risk involved for these dreams to come true, because God needs to know that you can rely on him completely. And I didn't have that perspective at the time. I was thinking, okay, so if I go chase baseball, then I'm 5 years set back, over 100 grand in debt, and I have no career. So what should I do here? And but I went and I threw the night before the pitching clinics, and they've got these like tarps with like the strike zone that you throw into and it drops the ball. And it literally, the term the ball was throwing me couldn't have been more true. I mean, I was trying to throw the ball as hard as I could, and it was just like, I mean, come on, arm, start moving, because nothing was happening. And I thought, this is going to be embarrassing. And Chad knows, like, I don't have a curveball. I'm more of a slider, like, you know, more of a downer slider most of my career until last year. And like, I was throwing a curveball out of nowhere when Don was there, and it was really, really sharp, and I have no idea where it came from. And I think it was a gift from God, because if I just threw a fastball at 83, 84 for this guy, there's no way he would promote me to go anywhere. But I had a really good curveball that day. And I asked Don, I said, hey, you know, like, I really want to go play somewhere. You know, what are your thoughts? He's like, I think if you're going to college, you should try to get paid for it, but I don't know what level you're able to get to. And he's like, I only have connections at KU, South Dakota State, and Fort Hays. And I didn't want to go to Fort Hays because the pitching coach there was my pitching coach at Baker. And I'm not going to mention a name, but like, it was not great for me. The guy was playing flip with seniors when I was trying to get a bullpen work in and become better. And so I just was not about that. And so I was like, okay, well, it's South Dakota State. I don't really know what they are. But KU, that'd be sweet, because I'm from Kansas. Even though I'm a Wildcat fan, I would bite the bullet to play D1 baseball as a Jayhawk. You know, a Jayhawk. Sorry. And so I told him, you know, like, what are your thoughts? Can you send something out to them? And he goes, yeah, I can. He's like, well, why don't you come back next week and I'll get some velo on you and we'll get some video and we'll send it out. So I come back the following week after school started. And I threw in front of them, and I was like 83 to 85, right? Nothing crazy where they're like, yeah, we got to have this guy, or let's take a chance on him. And I said, hey, dude, can you like maybe bump that to like 85, 88, and maybe someone will take a chance? He goes, honestly, yeah, I will, because I think you're going to be able to throw that easily. And I was like, really? He's like, yeah, 100%. All right. So moving forward, he calls me back the next week and says, hey, KU doesn't have any scholarship opportunities for you, so I'm going to reach out to South Dakota State. And I was like, I don't need scholarship, I just want to play. And he goes, well, I just don't think it's going to be a fit. And I think that's his way of saying they just weren't interested. So South Dakota State came on the board. And I remember in that moment, I just prayed. I was like before he reached out to those schools, I said, I'm not going to leave Arkansas unless it's Division I and it has landscape architecture, because I need to make sure that I still have a career if baseball doesn't work. And when he said KU, I was like, dude, that's perfect. They have top 5 landscape architecture program in the country. They're a solid baseball program. And then he said South Dakota State. And I was like, I don't know. He's like, well, I know they're D1. They just they're in the middle of their 3-year trial. This is their last year. Next year, they're eligible for tournament play. And then, you know, I had no idea if they had landscape architecture. So I remember going back to Arkansas, and so I went back to South Dakota State. And funny thing is we just had a transfer student into the second year, and she came from South Dakota State and said, yeah, they have a landscape program. It's just not a 5-year accredited program like this. And I was like, okay, cool. So South Dakota State called and said, hey, we're interested. We can only talk to you once a month due to like protocols. You know, would you like to come visit us when we come to Arkansas and play? So I like, you guys are playing in Arkansas? Like, yeah, we come there in 2 weeks. So they come down to Arkansas and play, and I bring all my friends, because like at this point I had verbally accepted going to South Dakota State, and I told my class and my professors, and they were like really trying to encourage me. And like, I don't think this is an attack from them, but like I saw kind of like, you know, the plot from the enemy trying to push me away from God's purpose in my life. They're just like, what are you doing? Why are you chasing this? Like, that's a stupid move. And there was a guy in second year also who transferred from 2 years of playing at West Point and said, Blake, this is really hard. Like, do you think you can actually do this? I was like, I don't know. I just feel like God's calling me to do this. he's like, I played at West Point. Like, we're a really good program. And like, I'm not trying to say anything, but like, it's just, there's so many people competing for so few spots. And then I had professors telling me like, oh yeah, you should probably leave because your projects suck. And it was sarcasm because I would pump out some projects that they really liked. And then they're like, yeah, look, you're making a terrible choice going and chasing baseball. My friends were supportive and within the department, and they actually came to the game with me because they were all baseball fans. And Arkansas beat South Dakota State like 18-3 and 21-2. And they're like, you're going to South Dakota State like and trying to chase baseball? Like, they just got throttled. You're not going to go anywhere if you go to South Dakota State. But they still supported me, and like I went on my way. And when I got there, the head coach took a job at San Jose State. So I'm like, so do I still have a job here? Like, or job, Jiminy, do I still have a spot to play here? And the head coach at the time was the previous assistant coach, and his name was Richie Price. And
I think I want to try and unpack something before we continue forward, because you've had so many ups and downs along the way. But I think this is a question for Blake and then maybe Coach Chop as well. The thing that really stuck out to me, as far as that kid that was 15 years old, overweight, and you know, pre-diabetic. We talk about bullying a lot on this podcast when I'm teaching sandlots or coaching camps or whatever. So I think what I'd love to hear is from Blake. It traumatized you being bullied, and it put a chip on your shoulder. But what can you say to that kid that's being bullied? And that's my 8-year-old daughter in the dance class. Sometimes that's the kid on the sandlot that's never played before. What can you say to that kid that's being bullied? And then Coach Chad, the dad, what can you tell that coach or that parent about when you see bullying happening on your baseball field? So maybe Treinen, you first.
We got a nickname. All right.
The Treinen.
You know, I think it's unfortunate anytime somebody gets bullied. Nobody should ever have to go through it. But, and I've tried to find a way to say this because I'm not encouraging somebody to go out and look to be bullied so you have a character building moment. But if you are bullied, it's about what do you do with it? And, you know, if you don't have an identity in Christ or have parents who are, you know, pushing like a greater purpose of what your life is for. And I was blessed to have that. It's really hard to get through because I look back and I'm like, yeah, there were some hard moments, but it was more of just kind of like an inward emotional battle that I had because I was not so much physically battled as I was with words. And so, okay, let me get back to it. So I'm not encouraging anybody to go out and get bullied, but if you are bullied, you know, what can you use? I think it allows your skin to get thicker. I think it allows you to understand that people who bully are also hurting in some way, shape, or form. And that's how they're processing. It doesn't make it right, but you have to understand where did they come from to where they felt like that was all right. And I remember reading the book, The Shack, and there was a moment in there where this person was described, or this character was described as the Holy Spirit, right? And they said they took this man back in this vision, and it was this dad who was abusive to this child, and I said, who's wrong here in this situation? And it's like the dad 100% should never hit a child. And then he showed him another scene where another dad was beating a child, you know, like just out of anger, you know, like hitting him way too much, like abusive, over the top. And after he showed this man the image of the second father, he's like, well, who's wrong here? And he goes, the dad 100%. He goes, well, that dad in the first scene is the child in the second scene. So what he has learned to do is when he's angry is to lash out. So, and I'm not saying that all bullies have that type of background. They might be hurting with self-confidence. They might only know how to lash out because of what they've been taught. So it doesn't make it right or wrong, but you have to like kind of understand where they're coming from, because everybody's hurting in one way, shape, or form. Their hurting is now pressed onto you. Not that you deserve it, but I think when we develop parts of empathy, like it can be used to benefit others and then give you a change of perspective. So like for me, when I was a kid and I was bullied, I was publicly humiliated once, to the point where I was like, man, this guy was supposed to be like the class president and the senior leader on the baseball team, and he publicly shamed me in front of everybody. And I remember thinking to myself, like, what am I doing wrong that like I'm inviting this? And as I've gotten older, you just start thinking, maybe there's more healing for the other person than like what I have to go through, because that's all temporal, and it stinks. And like, it's your hometown, and people can kind of see these things play out, and they kind of, whatever that happens, it kind of sticks in the back of their mind for a long time. But I think you just use what happens to you and you just speak about it. You can't be afraid of it. You can't be ashamed of it. You don't have to tell everything. Like there's going to be some things that cut pretty deep. I think it's important to, share it with somebody. You need to be able to tell everything to at least somebody to heal. But I think use it to benefit you. Like life is never easy. Like, and it starts at a young age. Like today I woke up and took a cold shower. I've been doing it for almost 2 years now, because the first task of my day, I read somewhere like, military training in some ranks, they teach you to challenge yourself with misery, the first task of your day, so that everything else is kind of like a little bit easier as you go on. So like if you face adversity, like you find a way to push through it because, hey, you've already conquered a nice shower, so something as simple as that. And I think once you realize that life can suck sometimes, life can be really beautiful sometimes, it's what you do in between, I think, is what can shape you as a person. And like I look around in today's culture, and it's so easy to just be addicted to being offended, as opposed to saying, you know what, there's always going to be people who are struggling. There's always going to be bad people. There's always going to be good people. And like, who cares what happens in that moment? You can control what you do next. So like, I don't get, like, the bully thing is one thing. I think as I've become a dad, like you guys are, you see compassion for kids when they're hurting, because you always want them to experience the best of life and have this sense of wonder. Like that's when I find the most joy as a dad. I think this is one of your questions, is when I look back in my mirror and we're driving through the mountains and I see like my son looking out the window, just like, wow, this is so cool. Or like we're at the beach and my daughter is just flabbergasted because like waves are crashing and she's like, what is this between my toes? Like this wonder that God's like given us, in front of us to just enjoy and discover. And that to me is what every kid and person should be able to do at all times. But honestly, that's probably heaven. So we're here, we're fighting a struggle. I think we find ways to have compassion and love through everything, and the best we can, because we're not perfect. But I think our struggles in the past sculpt us for who we are today, and you can't like get hung up on them. You just have to find a way to either make a change yourself and those around you so that it doesn't happen at least as much, or B, sculpt the people who are affected by it in a negative way so that they can become just better equipped to moving on in life.
That's great. Yeah. I wish I was that well spoken to communicate that with my kids like you just did. That two things stuck out to me is we just interviewed David Mickey Evans yesterday. He was bullied as a kid and really not invited to the baseball field or anything like that. He had a lot of bullies living around him. He wrote a script and he turned those bullies into heroes, and it's called The Sandlot. And he really he wrote about the childhood he never had. So that's what he did about it. That's how he responded to the bullying, is by writing a movie called The Sandlot, which is so inspiring from that aspect. I also love how you spoke of building maturity when you are bullied. If you can have the perspective to put yourself into the bully's shoes, wow. I mean, that is maturity. And I tried it as a coach. I think that's one of my number one priorities. Can I teach these kids to be more mature? And I do that the best I can because I have kids bullying each other all the time. But Chad, the dad, when you see this happening on your field, how do you go about it?
Two instances come to mind. The first is we played against a kid, and all of a sudden there was this rumbling in the dugout of, oh, they know this kid, and this guy's a bully at school, and this, that, and the other. And I said, well, the way to really get at a bully, if you just are mean to them or this, that, and the other, that doesn't really change their heart. The true way to get at a bully is be nice, be kind. Like when they're coming at you, respond in a different way, and that's really how you can potentially change how a bully's going about it. Because what both of y'all said, they're going through something. And if you match their anger or their poor attitude with anger and a poor attitude, you're just going to perpetuate the same actions. But you have an outside chance if you flip the script and you treat them like you want to be treated and you be nice. So that's my advice for how to handle getting bullied. Easier said than done. And then the other thing is you asked about as a coach. So we had a practice about 2 weeks ago where it was brought to my attention that one of my players was being perceived as bullying a teammate. And as a coach, your culture is what you tolerate, right? So I called the kid over, loved this kid who was being, bullying. And I told him, hey, this is a good life lesson because you don't think you're bullying him. And he was shocked. He's like, well, I'm just goofing off. I go, I understand that. But the form of empathy is seeing it through someone else's eyes. And whether you're bullying him or not, your teammate, it feels bullied. So it's important for you to be able to sense that. And if it's funny to you, but the person you're doing it to, you can read their body or like how they're responding to it. That's empathy, is making sure like you got to make them feel good too, especially on a team. Like we're brothers. So that's how I handle it. Those are just two instances.
And I encourage any coaches out there, be sensitive to that and don't let anything slide. I had a kid email me. He'd been coming to my sandlots forever. And then he goes and tries out for a little league team, and he immediately gets bullied by the best player on the team. And the coach didn't say anything, didn't notice it, didn't bring the two kids together to have a teaching moment about empathy. So he emails me and he's like, I was crying and it was awful. And I'm like, here's what you do tomorrow. Anytime somebody makes a mistake, because you were making some mistakes, making some bad throws, and the bully was screaming at you. Anytime somebody makes a mistake tomorrow, run up to him, give him a fist bump and say, I know how you feel. It's okay. Get him next time. 90 minutes later, who's going up and giving kids fist bumps? It was the bully. The bully responded in that way because somebody got into his shoes. And as parents and coaches, this is super, super important. And I love that you are well-spoken enough to share so eloquently on the topic of bullying, because it pushes a lot of kids into bad decisions. And so thank you for sharing.
I think the cool thing, what you said about this is, I'm not even going to try to, say the guy's name because I should know it. The man who wrote The Sandlot. I think the cool thing is we have the power to speak life or death. And, a soft-spoken word calms, a spirit. So like, I feel like if you can speak life about a situation, you can turn, the anger, you don't have to worry about, let me reword that. If you take the time to retaliate, like you were saying, Chad, as a bully, oh, I'm going to get after this guy because he's a bully at school. Like, you're only breeding more anger and the bar will keep going up. But if you speak a soft word, or if you encourage in a way, and you don't give life, like, cause he could have written a movie about being bullied. And what does that talk about? It gives life to bullying. And people are like, oh, well, there's a movie about it. It's kind of cool. It's kind of glorified to be a villain. And that's why they don't show anybody running on a field anymore. They don't want them to have the glory of being on a field. It's like, bad things happen, but the more that you give life to it, the more it will happen. So like, you only know what you see and what you hear. If you choose to speak positive in those situations and not say, oh, people need to know every detail about my sob story. Like, and I don't mean this in the best way. Like, if I go out and tell everybody what happened to me through the details, then people have ideas of what they can do and what kind of bullying is out there. If you say, hey, look, you know what? Somebody's going through a tough time. I was bullied, but I loved on them. I forgave them when they apologized to me. Like, there's just so much more life and growth through that than focusing on the negative. Like, but I don't know why, like, I keep having all these like scriptures bouncing off me right now, but like tomorrow has its own worries. Don't worry about yesterday, focus on today. Like, don't worry about tomorrow. So in the moment, just focus on like, how can you make a situation better, a relationship better, and not focus on the negative aspect of it. And I think I did not know that about the Sandlot until right now. And I feel like there's a lot of profound wisdom, whether he knew what he was doing in the moment or not.
Yeah, Benny the Jet could have been a villain, could have easily been, but he was the nicest kid on the field. And super powerful stuff. And that, I mean, I think that's what makes that movie last. And I told David Mickey Evans, they call him DME, why it lasts. It's that relationship with Smalls and Benny the Jet. Everybody wants to see that. Everybody wants to see the best player be kind to the newcomer, to the kid who's no good at all. And to see those two personalities mesh. I think this is what it takes. Conversations like this, where we're talking about difficult issues. But man, I just love that idea of empathy. I just love jumping into somebody else's shoes when they're screaming at you and they're being mean to you. Why? Let's dig deep and get into the why. I try to communicate that with my daughters and all my players. So strong stuff. Chopper, back to you.
I got a good transition from getting bullied to, I have a question for you. Who's on your teammate Mount Rushmore? So that's 4 faces.
I did some thinking about this. I've got 2 Rushmores.
Okay, I love that.
Yeah, I've got a hill Rushmore, which is not any knock about character, because these people are like strongholds in my life, probably more so than some of the guys I'm going to put in the big league roster. Okay, but my minor league Mount Rushmore is going to be this: TJ Walls, Josh Bowman, Blake Hasselbrock, who are my mainstays. I still talk to Bowman, Hasselbrock, and there's some close ones that didn't make the list. But all these guys were huge and instrumental to me. Actually, TJ Walls is the reason I met my wife. So for those who don't know, I met my wife on Christian Mingle, and he created a fake account for me. Not fake, it was real. I didn't know about it. I was deleting my Facebook, and he went on and screenshot all my pictures and created a profile for me on Christian Mingle. That's awesome. He would like took his phone and put it in front of my face and was like, "Hey, look at all these people that want to talk to you." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And it said Christian Mingle. I was like, "Dude, you're an idiot. What are you doing?" And so I just ignored it. And I go back to his house and train with him in the off season. And I go on to delete it because I just have way too many messages and like spam stuff from it. And I was like, well, I'll just get on to see what it's like. And then long story short, I met my wife through Christian Mingle, and we dated, got married, a year and a half later. So, yeah, TJ Walls is on that list. And then in the big leagues, it's this one. Like, I wouldn't say like we've shared a lot of like life stories or, had a beer together kind of friend, but he's on this list because he shaped, whether he knows it or not, he shaped my business as a man of faith, as a baseball player and husband and a dad. And that's Adam LaRoche. And then Chris Heisey. And then Lou Trevino's on there because he was just such a close buddy when I was in Oakland. He's a goofball, great guy, phenomenal stuff. And then Matt Belisle is another one. And I don't know if anybody knows that name, but he's probably one of the guys who's had a really solid career that most people will not have heard his name at the dinner table. And his last few years of his career, he put up some pretty solid numbers. So he challenged me with a thought process of how to get better every day, even through spring training with journaling, 3 good things that I did and 1 bad thing. And then the next day, focus on the bad thing and write down 3 good things. He goes, because science shows that for every bad thing that you put in your mind, you need to put 3 positives to counter it. And I was like, all right. So he goes, if you ran really good today, write it down. What's the one thing you could get better? I was like, well, I wasn't finishing my off speed. I was just lazy with it, trying to go through the motions. He's like, all right, so tomorrow you're going to work on your off speed. And so the next day you write about how did you benefit on your off speed, write down 3 things you did really well and 1 thing you did terrible. And then, so after the whole spring training in 2016, I did that, and I ended up having the best year of my career up to that point in 2016. And I've always kind of kept that in the back of my mind. I don't do it full-fledged anymore. Sometimes you have to go back to the drawing board, and that's always in the back of my mind, like, hey, how do I get back to who I am as a player? And I think it's the mindset of doing little things like flossing so you don't lose your teeth, you know?
Yeah, you helped me with, hey, Chopper, floss and make your bed.
Mhm.
You're like, dude, floss and make your bed. And then
Craig
Yes.
Rochelle, Life Church, Oklahoma. There you go.
you've already done 2 things and you feel like you've already accomplished some jazz.
Yeah.
I love that. I talk to our players about that all the time. Being a good teammate is challenging your teammates and holding them accountable. So it's cool that Matt Belisle is giving you that kind of that roadmap to where you could better yourself. And that's just being a great teammate. I love that. Coach Ballgame.
That's awesome, man. Well, to kind of get back to your up and down career of South Dakota State, not getting the chance to try out at Arkansas, and then just training and running and getting this fastball to go from 79 to 88, and then you find yourself in 2011 senior year, you're throwing high 90s. Do you have a moment where you're like, oh, I've just figured out how to throw it 10 miles an hour faster? Unpack that a little bit, man. Getting that fastball, and then maybe without giving away any secrets, how do you throw that wiffle ball that only Javier Baez can hit?
Okay. No, so I think the key to my velocity, first of all, is God. It's his plan for my life. I can't explain like why he chose me to throw a ball the way I do. I mean, the cliche of saying it's humbling. I really don't know why that's the direction of my life, but that's what he has me doing. And I'm very grateful for it. I worked really hard, but you know, when I went to South Dakota State, my first year, I had to redshirt and I ended up like hurting my shoulder. And I'm going to kind of preface this real quick. I ended up hurting my shoulder and they thought I needed surgery. They're like, oh, you have a slap tear. We got to go in and cut everything out and stitch it up. I was like, okay, so what's the recovery rate on this? And he goes, it's 20% recovery rate. I'm like, no, I'm going to need some more opinions. And our trainer in South Dakota State, thank God, said, hey, let's get an MRI. So this guy was saying surgery before an MRI. And I get an MRI and I remember praying about it. And I got family who are a bunch of prayer warriors in my church back home, and they start praying. And I get an MRI and they're like, oh, it's just rotator cuff tendonitis. I'm like, so we went from slap tear, career ending, potentially surgery, to just rotator cuff tendonitis. And so I spent like a month just like letting this thing recover, because I could barely lift my arm with the baseball at the time. And I was thinking to myself, God, like, why is this happening? You brought me all the way here in my first semester, like my shoulder's torched, like, and so I ended up recovering, and I threw in a sim game. I did a bunch of like preventative shoulder stuff because my posture wasn't great, and like I'm a pretty chest dominant guy, you know, so I needed to develop a lot of stuff in my back to help counter that and keep me in good form. And it really just kind of protect me when I throw. And so whenever I was recovered, we had a canceled game midweek against North Dakota, the Fighting Sioux. And whenever that game was canceled, we did a sim game at home and they had me on the mound. And I remember our team was really good offensively. Granted, it's South Dakota State and it's not like in Arkansas, so people are going to write that off, but we had the second best offense in all of baseball behind, I think, New Mexico State, which is in Albuquerque. And that's like a launching pad, even from, the minor leaguers. They're like, this place is incredible to hit. But our guys hit the ball extremely well, and the fastball especially. And so I remember throwing fastballs by these like all conference players. And I'm like, what is going on? And our catcher was fired up. He's like, hey, I want that guy on our team this weekend. But I couldn't. I had to redshirt because I started my pitching clock at Baker, transferred D1, wouldn't have had to sit out. But since I went D1 to D1, I had to sit out even though I didn't play. It was really weird, but total God thing. It allowed me to develop. So that summer I went to Laramie, Wyoming, and I was in the Rocky Mountain Collegiate League, which I don't even know if it exists anymore, but it's been restructured. It was just 4 teams. It was Laramie, Cheyenne, Fort Collins, and Greeley. And the guy I had there, Justin Wickert, was really huge in my approach to pitching. He goes, I promise you, every single person, this was his philosophy, whether it's true or not, I kind of have some belief behind it. He goes, every person, if they train right and give all their effort, can throw a ball at least 90 miles an hour, at least 90. He goes, but people don't know how to throw with intent. They've been taught to pitch their whole lives. How do I command the zone? Well, you don't think about what you're fully capable of intensity wise and throwing wise. So we're at like 7,200 feet, right? Our ball field to dead center was like 440, 430. Like, because the ball flies. It's insane. The corners was like 360. It was like the most incredible thing. But we would long toss all the way across the field like 3 days a week. And then on those days, we'd come in to 70 feet and we'd throw the ball as hard as we could through each other. He's like, I'm going to teach you to throw with intent. He's like, once you realize what your body's capable of throwing, then you can try to aim smaller and miss smaller. He's like, but I want to see what you're capable of. So I just started throwing the crap out of the ball as hard as I could, threw them at like 70 feet. And then that taught me the idea of like throwing through a target, because if you can feel like you can drive a ball at 70 feet and you get into 60 feet, 6 inches, it becomes way easier. And so when I came back after a summer there, which there was a couple of injuries that ended my season in summer ball. But when I came back, my first time off the mound, I was 90, 93, and I'd never touched 90 before. But I was a little bit erratic, right? Because the philosophy he was teaching me was just throw the crap out of the ball over the big part of the plate. And my pitching coach came out. He's like, hey, you're throwing the ball hard. Everybody's impressed. Throw it over the plate. I was like, okay. He's like, you're 90, 93. Okay. Like, we're all excited about it. Just throw a strike. It's like, okay. I started focusing on throwing strikes, and then that led into full, off season, or I call it off season, but winter college season of just learning how to throw the ball over the plate, control the zone in halves at least, or just be on the zone, because at the mid-major level, velocity tends to dominate more than anything. And I could just choke a changeup and bounce it on the plate, and guys are swinging, because you just don't. There was always a guy on each team when I was at South Dakota State that could throw 90. Few teams had guys that threw over 94. And if you did, they just pretty much walked through conference. But most guys threw like 84, 86 with like 4 pitches they could command at the college level. Now, I wouldn't call them command in the big leagues, but at the college level. So that's where my velocity first came from. And then I started learning to like weight train the right way. I mean, the right way, I don't know, but it was powerlifting. And our coach knew a lot about how to train a football player. And I thankfully didn't get hurt, and I got stronger and more explosive. And by the time I came back for my 5th year, I was throwing 94, 97, and I didn't sustain that the whole game. No college kid really does, at least when I was going through. You'd see a lot of guys that would sit 94, 97, and then they would taper off to like 90, 93 at the end of the game, unless your name was Garrett Cole or Trevor Bauer. Those guys, or Matt Perk, those guys were the ones that were like, totally different and held their velocity. And that's why they were first rounders, first overall picks. But yeah, it was funny. When I first got to South Dakota State, I told myself my first year, I need to be 88 to 91. I think I did that in that game where I was throwing fastballs by our guys. My second year, I need to be 91, 94. And then my last year, I need to be 94, 97. So that way, even if I fall a little bit short, I'm at least giving scouts something to look at. Hey, he's got a strong enough arm. We might be able to make him into a bullpen arm, or at least draft him. Because my goal was like, hey, I'm going to school to get a degree, but like I'm chasing this because I truly feel like God has a calling on my life to play baseball. So set some steep standards, work your tail off, and see what happens. Because I never wanted to look back at my career and say, you know what, I didn't give it enough right there. And that's why I didn't make it. I wonder if I would have given it everything I had and a little bit more, could I have been X, Y, or Z in my career? And so I remember a lot of times, and not that running correlates, but I think it trains the mind to work hard. There were times I started running 4 miles 4 days a week, just to like challenge myself to not be upset about like punishment runs. I mean, I got drug into a punishment run one time because I was 30 seconds late to study hall. I couldn't find parking in the snow out in the parking lot. And so I was 30 seconds late, and the guy's like, and what we did is we called it Earn Your Weekend. And so you do a team split with pitchers early in the morning on Friday morning. You go in at like 5 a.m. at the basketball arena, and you do like competition running. Like you do a timed mile. You do an average of all your guys on your team. So I would just blister as hard as I could. And I'm not patting myself on the back, but I never lost a single competition in running. Like, and I'm not the fastest guy. I gave a rip, and I tried hard. And I remember we won, and I was so excited because I don't want to wake up at 6 o'clock on Saturday morning, when I've got my weekend and I can sleep in, like. And so they said, yeah, you got to come in Saturday morning and do this workout. And I remember telling myself, like, I could either sit here and be disgruntled and get nothing out of this and just complain the whole time because that's what people do when they have punishment runs or if they lose. Or I could say, you know what? You're not going to get that gratitude because some college coaches love seeing players complain because they're like, oh yeah, I'm showing them like, and that's not the way our coach was, but maybe there was some fun in it for him. And I just remember saying, I'm actually getting better, so I don't care. Like, you're here thinking you're punishing me, but I'm actually getting better, so you're welcome. You can use me later. And that's just how I viewed it. I tried to push myself. We'd get done with our workouts. I'd go to the hyper and run more, or I'd do some extra shoulder work and just find things to do. I don't know, but I just didn't want to look back at my career and say, what if I did more?
Awesome. Amazing, man. Just the fact that you can just will these things to happen. It's inspiring. Like the way you talked about your kids, they look out and wonder and use their imagination. I mean, you're basically just believing in yourself that you can go from 79 to 88 to 97 and you're willing to outwork everybody else. That fires me up, man. So attaboy to you. Chopper, what do you got?
A couple things. One thing, what Blake talked about was throwing some long toss and throwing with intent. We just had last week, Coach Brent Strom came out and talked to our high school and our club team. And Brent Strom's a baseball lifer. He's now the D-backs pitching coach, was a pitching coach for the Astros, won a World Series with him. And he talked about that. He goes, everyone gets so caught up on throwing strikes or trying to just locate. He's like, no, you got to be able to throw hard. And the only way to throw hard is to throw hard, which is silly, but it's true. Like, you got to throw with some intent and you got to let it eat. So that was pretty cool. And then the other thing I want to touch on is this is for the guys that want to play at a higher level, which, a lot of kids say they want to play at a higher level. Blake, listen to what Blake said. He went out and worked when no one else was willing to work. He went out and was doing things after a workout, like where you really grow and surpass your peers getting to where you want to go is not at practice. Like, you're going to work hard at practice and so is everyone else. What are you going to do outside of practice? If you're willing to do what no one else is willing to do, someday you'll be able to do what no one else can do. And you look at Blake and what he's able to do on the mound, and that's the good Lord giving him that strong will and that belief. But man, greatness doesn't happen by accident. Like, this is a young man who worked his tail off and to this day works his tail off. And that's why he gets to be under the bright lights, being awesome. It's pretty cool, pretty powerful. Question I have, what is your favorite Major League Baseball city to visit?
I was talking to Katie about this last night, and Katie's my wife. I was talking to her, and I really just, it's changed because some cities have just so drastically changed. I think early in my career, I really loved Seattle. Just being able to walk to Pike Market and take in the sunrise I think it's over the Sound, right? Puget Sound. I really enjoyed that. The Athenian, I'm a big fan of the Athenian breakfast. And even I had a chance to eat their clam chowder once, so huge fan. But San Francisco early in my career was really fun, and that city's changed a lot now too. But it pains me to say this, San Diego is nice. It's a nice place. Yeah, I grew up going there. They're a good team. They're a great team. I love the city though. The city's great. I've got a heart for it. Let's see. Kansas City's fun for me because that's home.
Beautiful park.
And honestly, Chop, this year when we went to Miami, it was pretty cool. That was a different place. I've never stayed there before. They had us at a really cool resort, which is where was it at? Like on the beach, right? Key Biscayne on the beach. And I've only heard of that place in songs. Never been there. Yeah. And now I know why people write about
Steely
it.
Dan. Steely Dan. Biscayne Bay.
You and Steely Dan. As long as it's not Phantom of the Opera in the car, I'm okay. This guy.
Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah. Oh, way too much Phantom of the Opera. We should just Phantom the Phantom of the Opera. That's what we should do.
Seen it 5 times. Both coasts.
Wow.
How many hours of your life is wasted on that? I'm just curious.
Man, it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful show.
Hey,
I recommend it.
To each their own. There you go.
Man. I wanted to surprise Chopper, and maybe this is how we'll close it out. Maybe we'll divvy this up into a 2-parter because it's just so good and so juicy good. and great and impactful for a lot of different types of kids and parents out there. But I wanted to create a brand new segment called Play and Pepper. And this is just a little Play and Pepper, just some little questions. And they can be quick answers, but I'd love to hear these answers from both of you. And then we're going to let the train go play in the snow with his boy. Who's your favorite actor? We'll go Train and then Chad the dad. Favorite actor out there?
Probably Denzel Washington.
Boom.
That's a good answer.
Top that one, Chop.
I can't. I'm going to go with it's either Al Pacino or Robert De Niro. I'll go with Pacino.
Oh, man. Denzel is about to release Macbeth. He's Macbeth. And then Pacino, A Scent of a Woman. Forget about it.
Hooah!
Hooah! Oh. Funniest guy in baseball. Funniest guy.
He's not in it anymore, but by far the funniest guy I've ever encountered in baseball is Josh Fegley. Funniest dude I've ever met. He would say just one word to you, and the way he said it would have you on the ground rolling. It broke the ice for me when I got to Oakland. A story off the camera I could probably share with you, but like he's the funniest dude I've ever met. And I hope Josh watches this at some point because he's by far one of my. He's a sneaky not in the Mount Rushmore.
Rushmore.
Yeah.
Honorable mention.
Yeah. Mount Latimore. I mean, he's all over it.
Boom. Kike or Brandon Belt, and I'm going to edge it with Brandon Belt.
Ooh, yeah. Quirky. Favorite band, folks. Favorite band. Just Play and Pepper.
I'll go. Dave Matthews Band.
I'll go Hootie and the Blowfish.
Yeah. Blake?
I'll go Darius Rucker.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
So strong.
I like anything country and gospel. I like Christian and country. I don't really have a favorite band. This is hard for me with doing favorites. So
yeah, it's a toughie. I just had a portable tape player, and the first tape I ever had was Cracked Review, Hootie and the Blowfish, and I'd ride my bike with my little tape cassette player there attached to my kids. Kids are amazed when when we take them to a hotel and they see a phone. I'm like, yeah, that's a phone, kids, and this is a radio.
Hey, real quick, I think Chop would agree. I think my favorite band this past year, it's not Morgan Wallen. I mean, that was our card.
That was our go-to, Morgan Wallen.
Yeah.
You can put one instrument in the bullpen. Maybe it gets you fired up, gets you ready to go. And Chopper, maybe I put it in the on deck circle for you. What's the instrument?
Go ahead, Blake.
All right. I think I don't know what the type of drum is, but they're like these big, like drums that are like maybe tall and narrow, and people are just like, dum, 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 dum.
Oh,
so like Mariano Rivera. I think that's probably something that would get you going. But just based on the sound of the instrument, I think a dirge or a dirge, whatever those are called, I think it's pretty funny. I don't know what it does, but I think that would be something to look up and see if it tickle anyone's fancy. Can we
line that up?
Chopper? I think we can try. He went
we
Durgy.
Can surprise him.
I was gonna go electric guitar, but then he hit me with a Durgy, so now I got to go a keytar. Right? A keytar. What's the piano guitar? Is that not a keytar? That's a keytar, no?
That's like balake. I have to stress different things. It's engraved into my nickname. I have to do that.
Mm-hmm. Oh God. Well,
that's a great.
I'll go didgeridoo and call it a day.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We'll narrow it down. Last couple. Most talented musician in baseball. You met any teammates, any coaches out there that you're like, wow, they could go pro?
One for sure, Bronson Arroyo. When I was in, and I think a lot of people say that, but Kenley is pretty dang good at the bass. He's taught himself quite a bit. So those are my two.
Yeah, I'll go Kenley just because I saw him play the piano in Denver, and pretty solid. And that's really all I saw musically. Kenley on the piano, tickling the ivories, as they say, the kids.
I did not know that.
This offseason in Curacao.
Yeah. Kenley's talented.
With his bass, though.
Yeah, he travels with his bass. True story. Yeah. Never played any Phantom of the Opera, though. Still holding out.
I'll go Bernie Williams. Bernie. I got Bernie. Yeah. Love that. Finally, the favorite TV show growing up. Final question.
Wonder Years for me. Fred Savage. Winnie Cooper.
So good.
What would you do if I sang out of tune?
Game shows right.
Bob Barker. Price
Come
is
on down.
Wrong. Yeah, I love that.
Yep.
Oh man.
Whenever I was sick, that thing was on.
I faked being sick so I can watch Price is Right. Right?
Actually, I did do it
Same.
once.
Yes, you had to at least once in a while.
I woke up.
Oh yeah, I got a little tickle.
Oh, yeah.
A little tickle in my throat.
Go to work. I
Yeah.
got this.
I got this.
Oh, I grew up in North Carolina, so I'll go Andy Griffith show. Barney Fife all
Good
day,
answer.
baby. Yeah.
I was gonna say, how's your whistle game? I mean, can you?
I feel like we just nailed that. Wow.
Oh man,
There you go.
That was
talk
good.
about nostalgia, buddy. That takes you right down the lane. Man, thank you for coming on. That's all for me, Chopper.
That's all I got too.
what-
He answered. Oh, you know what? He touched on this. Who is your toughest opponent? You mentioned Javier Baez. Does he take the cake, or is there someone else that you put so much fear into everyone else? Is there anybody that, I'm not going to say puts fear into you, but that if they're in the box, you're giving them a little extra attention?
Steven Souza.
Ooh.
That's a last minute audible, and that goes back to our joke that Chop knows about. And I hope Souza
Yes.
watches this and you have him on the
So do
show.
I. Oh, why am on the
Because
show?
This guy, it's a story of a grudge that I had to work out in my heart.
That's right.
Yep. Long story. We actually finally sorted it out this year because of Chad.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's
No,
right. I was
it was
the
sorted
mediator.
out years ago, but it was funny to reopen the wound, you know.
Even Sousa Jr.
Nah,
What a legend.
the real bane is probably Freddie Freeman and Juan Soto just command a lot of attention. I don't really know my career numbers against those guys. I've only faced Juan Soto maybe twice, but just the amount of attention that they require in the lineup, I think is pretty incredible. So
Good answer.
It's awesome. We talked
we
about
appreciate you.
Yeah, we I can't wait to air this episode for so many different reasons, but thank you, brother, for coming on.
yeah, if you guys ever need me again for any reason, maybe less heavy topics, or we can find another heavy topic.
We can
Yeah.
do a little bit of both. I like playing
Yeah.
pepper and I like getting deep too.
You're inspirational. Your story's powerful, and it's something that I think it's important for kids to know that you can do anything, and you had this belief and this conviction in what God gave you, and no matter how many things came in your life to try to take you off that, you're unwavering in that faith in the Lord and that faith in the talent He's given you, and we love watching you, man. It's a pleasure to call you a friend, and thank you so much for coming on, dude. You're the best.
Well, likewise, Chad. And I think the biggest thing I've learned when you're saying like my story is inspirational, I've noticed that everybody has a story. When they get to any type of career goal, they've got a story. And, some people relate to it more than others, and others, they probably won't. So I think understanding that no matter what your story is, you have a platform to share and bless others. That's what I've learned, because I've heard some stories that are pretty. Zach Rex, that guy. Incredible story. That's somebody you could probably have on if you want a crazy story. So there's some pretty cool stories out there.
Yeah. Well, have a great day. Enjoy your family. Enjoy that snow, and Happy New Year to you. You're the best, buddy. Hope to see you soon.
Look at that.
Are you kidding me?
That.
All for you guys. Come play.
Have a great day, buddy.
Next time I see you, we'll do a staring contest. That's one thing I got to have is a little uncomfortable. Oh God. Just
take a look at those babes, huh? The whole thing is like, which eye do you stare at, you know?
See you, buddy. Have a great day.
See you guys.
See ya. Wow, unbelievable, huh?
Yeah, I just added another story to my repertoire. I've got the Daniel Nava, I've got the Roberto Clemente, the Jim Abbott, but we're going to go Blake Treinen, and I'm going to look up Zach Rex too. Got to look that one up.
Zach Rex is an unbelievable story. It's very similar. Very similar story. We should have Zach Rex on, but Blake is he's a special young man. He's got his firm beliefs and unwavering beliefs, and he's been blessed. We didn't ask him, which I'll tell a little bit. He had a couple accidents. So you talked about how does he throw that sinker, that ball that moves, that it was the best pitch of the year by Pitching Ninja. He had damage to his thumb in his throwing hand, and I'm bummed out we didn't ask him. Maybe next time he comes on. But he almost lost his thumb from an injury when he was a kid, and now it enables him to get to these different positions where his sinker, you know, it's 100-mile-an-hour bowling ball. And then he learned that slider grip. I want to say Bauer helped him with that slider grip this last year. And that really transformed that pitch. Used to just be a straight downer, but now it's got that side to side too. I mean, guys, if you haven't seen, most of you have seen him pitch, look up some of his pitches and what they do. That's without spider tack. That's without grip. That's without pine tar. That's nothing. That's just Blake Treinen.
Unreal, man. Unreal.
Cool. Really
Atta boy. Well, hey.
Who do we got next week?
Next week, we got the titanium catcher, A squared, Alex Avila.
I can't wait, man. He can do a mean Jack Parkman.
Yeah, right? Buddy. And he's like the Kevin Bacon of baseball. Like,
that's right. Yeah.
I think you can go all the way to Babe Ruth with him as far as
I think you can.
The guy has played for a lot of different teams. He's been the captain, the catcher for most of those teams. His dad in the offices of Detroit Tigers. So lots to talk about. Really good guy. Met him in Texas at the War Stick event. He's going to be great.
Exciting. I'm really excited. Because everything you just said, you talk about when I introduced Brent Strom to my high school kids the other day, I said, he's forgotten more than all of us know combined. And I bet you Alex Avila has forgotten more about baseball than you and I combined. And that's just to speak about how much knowledge he has. And like, man, that's going to be such a great guest. I am so excited for that.
A sneaky, quiet guy with a ton of stories. You just know he's got that. He's that just subtly, he's going to tell you 15 incredible gems about Max Scherzer and Verlander and Rizzo. And I mean, the list goes on, and hopefully he's going to continue to play a little bit more.
I can only hope this week goes as fast as last week did between the last 2 episodes. Because I can't wait. Man.
Hey,
have a great day. Hey, don't forget to rake. Don't forget to rake
will.
a random act of kindness every day, brother. I know you will.